Noting that the first topic about modern literature did not suit him, Lewis agreed to try his hand at the second.
I think what I mainly want to talk about is the law of nature, or objective right and wrong. It seems to me that the New Testament, by preaching about repentance and forgiveness, always assumes an audience who believes in this law and knows that they have disobeyed it. In modern England, we cannot at present assume this. The first step is to create or recover a sense of guilt. Hence, if I give a series of talks, I should mention Christianity only at the end. Let me know what you think of this and how many talks and what dates you would like. Yours sincerely, C.S. Lewis.
With that letter, an assignment and relationship that would change the nature of Christian apologetics began. Only 6 months later, Lewis took the hour-long train ride from Oxford into London and then traveled on to the BBC headquarters for the first of 6 broadcasts. Each week, at precisely 7:45 in the evening, Lewis would spend 15 minutes making the case to an already secular and war-torn Great Britain about things like moral law and humanity and its relationship to something higher than itself. He was eloquent, insightful, even amusing. Lewis's radio talks proved to be a great success. His clear step-by-step reasoning, his honest and unassuming tone, and his use of common-sense examples drew in listeners of all types. The BBC asked Lewis to present a second series, and then a third, and finally a fourth. His popularity was such that a few surveys showed that his voice was one of the most recognized in Britain, second only to that of Winston Churchill. The broadcast talks, as they were initially called, were printed and published in separate volumes. Then, in 1952, they were collected into one volume and published as the book The World Knows as Mere Christianity. It became an instant classic. When the broadcast talks began, Lewis was nervous about how he was positioning himself on the radio. In one of the radio introductions, he explained to listeners,
"It's not because I'm anybody in particular that I've been asked to tell you what Christians believe. In fact, it's just the opposite. The British Broadcasting Corporation has asked me, first of all, because I'm a layman and not a parson, and consequently they thought I might understand the ordinary person's point of view a bit better. Secondly, I think they asked me because it was known that I'd been an atheist for many years and only became a Christian fairly recently. They thought that would mean I'd be able to see the difficulties, able to remember what Christianity looks like from the outside. One thing I can promise you, in spite of all the unfortunate differences between Christians, what they agree on is still something pretty big and pretty solid, big enough to blow any of us sky high if it happens to be true."
In our look at Mere Christianity, we'll be exploring not the issues that divide Christians, but the big solid issues that most Christians agree on. And we'll learn how Lewis, a former atheist who had dismissed Christian belief as an invention of delusional men, eventually embraced the very faith he'd argued against. In this session, we will look at our sense of right and wrong, a sense all of us have, which Lewis refers to as the law of human nature. And we will begin where Lewis began, not by starting off with complicated doctrines such as the Trinity or atonement, but with something each of us experiences nearly every day, a quarrel. Why did he start there? Because everyone has quarreled, or heard a quarrel where one person tries to convince someone else of what they should or shouldn't have done. Lewis points out that when two people argue about whether something is wrong or right, it means they have a common agreement about a moral standard or code. This was Lewis's foundation for the case he knew he had to make about a credible and real faith. He was speaking to a